I'm just excited, honestly, because we don't have to put up with. I'm so sick of people tweeting about the reports, tweeting former NFL scout on my timeline, and it's like a daily thing because you're bored, and going at people or whatever over something that we just don't know about. I think it's so boring. I'm so sick of the Trey Lance. Just either he is the greatest quarterback ever, or he's the worst quarterback ever. I just want to see him play. I really just want that. And I'm excited for that this offseason. I'm excited for your training camp reports as always, the good and the not so good. At least it's not good and bad. The not so good. And I always appreciate the fact that you bring out a lot of players that we wouldn't hear about in both your good and not so goods. Generally, because I think the training camp coverage can be a little stale a lot of the times. I think
Yeah.
sometimes people can be I think it can also be the opposite. I think sometimes people can go out of their way to be different and talk
Right.
about something that maybe wasn't really relevant in a practice just to be different. Talk about a player that, might have played 2 snaps and okay, we're going to talk about him because we want to talk about that guy and people want to hear about that guy. So I appreciate how balanced your training camp coverage is. I think you do
My goal
phenomenal
is
work.
just to empty out my notebook. I take a lot of
Right.
notes during practice and I try to share them basically. Yeah.
And
That's what
and
I'm going for.
so and so I really appreciate it because I think you do phenomenal work covering the Niners throughout the season. But I
Thanks,
think
man.
particularly in training camp, I think you do set yourself apart from your peers and contemporaries. Because what I appreciate the most too is that you're good and not so good. It's not just, well, I was there, you weren't there, so I'm right,
It's
you're
just
wrong.
I
Because
try to describe.
that's what a
Yeah.
lot of the coverage just
Yeah.
comes down to. It's very
Yeah.
condescending. A lot of people are like, I was there, I saw it, you weren't there, you don't know. You
Yeah.
describe what
I try
happened.
to.
And then you
Yeah.
say, this is why I had it in the not so good. But that description's enough for somebody to come, like me, to come on and say, well, that sounds like this, and this. And you're open to hearing that, even though, I'm nowhere near training camp. So I do appreciate that. I don't
Thanks, man.
really like the condescending tone from some who say I was there. I could, there's a lot of ways to be at training camp. So I'll leave it at that. But I do appreciate your coverage a lot. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to coming back once I get off vacation and getting ready
Thanks,
for
man.
next season
It's
with it.
interesting. Like everyone says, you got to be a journalism major to be a journalist, but I was an English major, and I feel like one thing that journalists do that English majors don't do is journalists tend to summarize. They tend to tell you. I don't know why. I never took a journalism class in my life, but English majors always show. The teacher, I mean, in every class at UCLA, you got to
Right.
show, don't tell. So when I first got on the beat, I realized like, first of all, holy shit, I'm at practice. And like, I couldn't freaking believe it. And I knew that any fan would feel the same way. And I knew because I was a fan, I grew up reading all the reports. And I always felt like, man, you're just summarizing. Instead of telling me what happened, could you please bring me there? And I feel like I know I can do that. I'm trained to
Yeah.
be descriptive. So there was just a lane for it. And I knew fans would like that. So
Yeah,
that was kind of,
I think really that's
yeah.
what makes it interesting. And now that you've added this audio um element to it where
Component.
you go live right
Yeah.
after camp practice and you go through
That's
your
fun.
good and not so good.
Yeah.
I think that like I've never I've not missed probably your training camp post report probably since 2019 when you first
Thanks, man.
started doing it. I watch every one of them because again, I'm in Chicago, right? So I don't have that frame of reference, and I do appreciate the fact that you bring it to all of us
I
as
appreciate it.
fans, and we get to watch.
Well, I'm not really a reporter. I'm like my dad. I'm mostly a guy who gives his opinion. But for this part of the off season, I kind of am a reporter, right? It's like,
Yeah,
only
100%.
7 or 8 people see it, and I'm pretty good at. I think I'm the best at sort of just conveying through words what happened and having people.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm
100%,
not.
100%.
But yeah,
Because
it's fun.
because that's the thing, right? Like, and even people who don't, I would say even people who make it a
Don't like me.
point to show that they dislike you,
Yeah.
I think they're here for your training camp reports because there's no more. You don't get any detail from anybody else's reports, right?
Really,
Like
I mean,
as much.
I'm in a constant thing with the Niners of like not giving too much detail because like I'm not trying to give away secrets. And a lot of times they've been
No,
like, "Hey, man, you can't say the route." I'm like, "All right, my bad, my bad. I'm just trying to paint a picture. Not trying to hurt you
yeah,
both."
no,
Yeah,
but right, like, but I think it's interesting, right? Because like, I mean, there's other good training camp reports, right? Like the spreadsheet, as much as we make fun of it, and
he
we
tries to be
joke about
through.
it,
You got to
it is
appreciate that.
thorough. It
You
is
got to
thorough, right?
appreciate that.
It's a
Yep.
well done thing. It's a well done thing. But the
Yeah.
issue I have is that there's not a lot I can gain from just seeing the statistical breakdown of their throws between different periods because I'm not there, right? Like, I don't think I personally, and I've learned a lot of
He's
football over the
pretending it's an
last,
objective account when it's got
yeah,
to be. It's subjective, and you got to
it's a
give
little
your take.
subjective, and
It's
the other
it's
thing is
subjective.
I've
Yeah,
learned a lot about football over the last 4 or 5 years, just learning from coaches, learning from players, learning from coaching clinics, learning from a lot of different people who know a lot more than me. And the one thing you learn very early on about quarterbacks and stuff is that it's not just an objective, well, every incompletion's the same, every
right.
interception's the same. Like Trey Lance can throw, a 30-yard out route, far hash on a rope and miss it by a couple inches. And that's the same thing as an incompletion as Garoppolo, throwing a 5-yard hitch. It's not the same thing, right? The degree of difficulty of the throw it's not even in the same conversation. And so that's where I do like having both training camp reports, in fact, because I do think that you painting the picture and then him just having a statistical reference that you can go back to and say, oh, well, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of differences. There's small marginal differences in everybody's reports, but
Of course.
being able to try and say, well, okay, Grant said these things about Trey
Yeah.
Lance's incompletions. Oh, that's why he was 6 for 11 because
Right.
he threw 7 passes that were 50 yards down the field. Or, oh,
Yeah.
that's why Jimmy Garoppolo was 8 for 20 because, he was trying to he was under pressure every throw. So, to get that context, I think is exceptionally valuable. And I love
Thanks.
training camp season because of that. And I do think that you take it a step further, and I don't want to sound, I mean, I'm on your show. I don't want to sound like I'm just complimenting you to compliment you, but I do think that what you do in training camp, it's really why it makes I think the Niners should be thanking you because I don't think they do a great job of making their training camps engaging for fans.
They
I
should
think you do that
broadcast it.
for them.
They should broadcast it. Honestly, they should the whole league should broadcast it. I mean, they could make so much money, but they don't. So I make the money. Thank you. And I really, honestly, to me, this offseason, these OTAs and training camp practices to me feel like the biggest ones I've ever covered. Like, what's at stake in these?
Yeah.
Every time, everyone's going to be like, so how did Trey look? Tell me everything, And then it's going to be great. I can't wait. The Niners created this too. Thank you,
Yeah.
49ers. Must see TV, and you won't show it, but it's on my channel.
Yeah,
Thank you.
100%. Well, I mean, this offseason is going to be a little bit of it's going to temper your expectations or, or maybe make your expectations go over the top of what Trey Lance is, right? Like if people are saying Trey Lance is like, this is stuff I've never seen type stuff and whatever, you're going to be thinking Trey Lance is going to hit the ground running. And you might be thinking it's going to be near Mahomes. I saw somebody tweet out that, a good season for Trey Lance would be 500 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns, 35 touchdowns passing, 15 picks, 4,500 yards. And I was thinking in my head, like, that's the exact season Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow.
Right.
Those guys had that exact season last season. And they're
The
all
thing
in the
that's
top.
interesting with the offseason is sometimes there's a player where some media members think he's doing great and some think he's doing really bad.
Right.
And I think last year it was like a Rorschach test with Trey Lance. Some people were like, man, he's not doing well at all. Some people were like, man, this guy looks like his upside is through the roof.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if there's a little bit of that this year with the quarterback position because that one in particular.
I think there will be with those players, right? And I feel like you're always the one on the unpopular opinion side. Last year, you were on the popular opinion side. Like the Dante Pettis, I will never forget that. It was like a daily battle. I used to sit in your periscopes. There would be like 16. It would be the same thing, but instead of arguing with Jets fans, the comment section would be, Mayoko said this about Dante Pettis. This person said this about Dante Pettis. Dante Pettis, Dante Pettis, Dante Pettis. And you'd be like,
people hyped him up for years. I'm like, no.
He would be like your daily not so good. And it turned out you were absolutely right on Dante Pettis. I mean, it was tough to stomach as a Niners fan. I didn't appreciate you putting down Dante Pettis, who I was hoping would be receiver one that year as a fan. But you turned out to be right. And I think that's where I commend your courage in training camp to have that opinion, even though it might deviate from the consensus. Because again, there's only like 8 of you guys there. And if you're not telling us what you actually see and what you're seeing, and you're just, giving us, well, he made 4 catches. Well, what if those 4 catches were screens and stuff? You're doing a disservice to us as fans.
Also, to me, like watching it, it's obvious. And the way I see it is everyone there watching in the media knows it. Like they all knew Dante Pettis wasn't good and they were whispering it. But does it really? What's the percentage in you saying it publicly? Do you really want to say it publicly? I do.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll be wrong. I'll put
Right,
myself out there, but a lot of people are like, I don't need to say that publicly. Let's just be like, hey, you freaking.
and it's
You watch
funny
your
because
credits
people
today?
called it clickbait, right? And
Right.
I don't think criticism is clickbait, right? A lot of people think that anytime you criticize the 49ers, it's clickbait. You're doing it for clicks. You're not saying, but I think it's the
No,
opposite.
I
You're taking
agree.
a chance. You're
Yeah.
going at something that you know people are going to disagree with. You know you're going to get hate for, but you believe
Yeah.
it. You know what's
Yeah.
not clickbait? Saying Dante Pettis had a phenomenal practice, because that's what everybody wants to hear. That's what
Yes.
everybody wants to click on. That's what everybody
Yes.
wants to feel good about. And so from that standpoint, I
There's a
do
lot of
think
that
that
type of coverage in the offseason too. There's a
and
lot of it.
it's all that coverage, and that's where I get confused, right? Because I'm a fan. You might not get it as much because you're a peer of these people. You're a fan. I'm a fan, so I'm not just consuming your work. I'm consuming every single person in the beat besides Eric Branch, who's behind a paywall that I don't want to pay for the San Francisco Chronicle. Sorry, Eric Branch. So I'm unable to consume his work. But the rest of them, I'm reading and watching everything, and I'm more likely as a fan to want to read the article that puts the 5 players I like in a positive light than having to read the article that says Dante Pettis had a bad practice, especially in 2019. Like that's annoying. And I do think that one thing as a fan, if I might go as far as, I don't want to sound like I'm giving advice or anything, but something I do enjoy as a fan, and I do think that you might enjoy it too as a fan if you want to be like a critical thinker about the sport or just enjoy the sport more. It's fun to listen to people that have a difference of opinion. That's why I like
Yep.
listening to Florio, because it's not only do they have a difference of opinion, do they make real genuine points when they have
Yes.
that difference of opinion. And if they do, then it's interesting. It's
Yes.
engaging. You don't have to still agree with them. You don't have to even like them, but you can at least
Right.
listen to what they have to say and think about how that affects what you're thinking and how it relates to what you're thinking. I enjoy watching and observing sports from that standpoint, and that's I think that it's awesome I think it makes it more fun.
To me, I think smart people like like Vish and me, smart
No,
people know
appreciate it.
that they don't know that much. And they're constantly interested and curious and trying to hear new things they haven't heard and thought about so they can consider them for themselves and challenge what they find true and right. Not as smart people just think they know everything and only want to hear from other people that sort of echo what they think they already know. That's what I feel like. So if
I agree
you
with
don't
that.
like me, that means you're not smart.
I think that's a statement that you could make across not just football coverage,
Oh
but
yeah, that's life.
yeah,
That's life.
society. Yeah.
Yeah. People who think they know everything and don't want to hear about anyone else's opinion, I'm like, those are the people I really turn off. I'm like, okay, well, you already know. So what do I need to talk?
Right.
Sorry. Carlos wants to know if you can give any food suggestions in Chicago. He just wants it in tweet form though, so you can tell him yes or no.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. Best pizza place in Chicago is Lou Malnati's. It's the best pizza. It's a chain, so it's the best chain pizza, but it is by far the best deep dish pizza in Chicago. Their thin crust is pretty good too. I'm actually, before I go on my trip, because I'm on vacation for a month and a half, I'm definitely gonna get a pizza over the next 2 days. I have to get one before I go. I will be savoring that taste when I'm gone. So
As someone who went to Chicago last year and is from Oakland, all I want to say is that the deep dish out here in the Bay rivals Chicago deep dish. If you're into that kind of thing,
I don't
that's
know
up
if
to
I would
you.
go to rival, but I said
But
I did go out there. I had pizza with
it
you. I
holds
said it
its
was
own.
very good.
It holds its
It's
own.
very good. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Jason says, how long before Jimmy is competing in the USFL? He's got too much money to take that route.
Nah, he doesn't need
He
to.
would
I
never
actually
do
think
that.
he would be if and maybe he is interesting. I don't think he comes across as interesting, but I think he would be your quintessential media guy if, he would have interesting things to say. Maybe he really is. Maybe he would be a little bit more open and interesting. Maybe he does have a really nice personality.
Dude, they should give Booger McFarland's job to Jimmy because if you want like really obvious, pointless analysis, I would imagine Jimmy could do that. I would love to hear Jimmy analyze
The
football.
thing is, Booker was a hell of a football player too. People forget
Good
that.
point. He played next to Warren Sapp. He was a champion. He was a hell
Yeah,
of a
he was
player.
a first round pick.
Someone said that my background's whack without the Sports Illustrated. Yeah, it's true, but I'm about to have a new background in a couple weeks. I'm not trying
He's
to.
moving
Yeah,
to
I'm
an
moving.
undisclosed location somewhere.
Undisclosed location. Cone Zone is moving. What I'm saying in Oakland. Anyway, that's the
Breakfast
show.
pizza is the new wave. I got to try that.
Breakfast pizza is the new wave. Never heard of it. Out here in you got Zachary's and the Star. I took you to the Star because it's a little bit healthier. It's got cornmeal crust, but Zachary's To me, Zachary's is every bit as good as Lou Malnati's. Next time I'll take it to Zachary's. I want to hear what you think of Zachary's pizza because it's legendary.
All right.
If you like
Is
that
it
stuff,
legendary?
it's really good. It's what like the Bay Area does deep dish way better than they do New York. They cannot do New York style pizza in California. They just don't.
I don't think anywhere outside of the East Coast can do that thin crust pizza, honestly.
I don't know. Is it? They say it's the water. Maybe the water's softer out there. It's too hard. I don't know what that means, but it means something. Anyway,
yeah, we gotta find out. Yeah, Portillo's in Chicago. Yeah,
I went there. I went there with Korean 49er. If you watch Cohn Phone, we met up. Anyway, it was fun. Yeah, everyone. Thanks for watching Vish. Have a great time wherever you're going, and we'll see you when we get back.